What's up, everybody? Doing the lunchtime in the US stream here. Try and get the chat situated. Make sure everybody's up. It should be. What's up, Will? Make sure everything is good here before we get fired up. Of course, the pilot is on board, right? I guess technically it's afternoon. It's 12:02 here. So let me go send a link. There was somebody who wanted a link right quick. And all right. All right. Sent one out on the, I saw the doc was saying he won't have audio, but of course I guess he'll just look at my ugly mug, right? All right, let me pull the chat back up here. All right. Yeah, try to figure if I can get in a lunchtime one so we can catch some other people in various other time zones instead of trying to do one at night, which is most of the time I can only do them at night just to various other noise and children want to run around and come be in the video as well. So one thing I wanted to show is I only messed with it one time last night, was the cool little template feature on Tasmota. And all I have is just a simple, that's out of focus there. Let me get that in focus right quick. Just a simple NodeMCU. I wanted to show, because of course if we end up breaking it or getting it boot looped or something like that, of course in the video, in live stream, we can just hit it with and just reflash it or nuke the flash or whatnot, so it's no big deal. So but the cool thing about on Tasmota, make this a little bigger here. So the guy named, if I'm gonna say it right, maybe butcher it, Blackadder, he's been doing a lot of work on the Tasmota Wiki, and I can tell you one thing. When I was kind of surprised when I came in here and looked at the supported commands section, and I know this used to be kind of, some people were kind of scared. Some people, they didn't want to dig through it and look through it, but I mean, it's tons of stuff you can do in Tasmota with the various commands. He's gone through and cleaned up all kinds of things in the commands, and if you do see something that might be confusing or whatnot, it's a user collaboration of everybody to kind of add to the wiki. So be sure, and you can, if you have a GitHub account, you can edit the page. Just do be careful of what the edits you do, because everyone else is going to see them. But if something's not right, they can always roll things back, and if it doesn't look right. So not everyone's going to be perfect, but it's got all the commands down from the all your different Wi-Fi commands. I mean, there's just so many commands, and all these commands, you can send them over. You can, use them in the web console in the Tasmota GUI itself, or you can send them over MQTT. You can use them in rules, etc. So it's tons of stuff with all in examples. And I believe he even has it where if you want to save a link, like something you always can't remember, say like the, I don't know, the LED, let's say power on state. I believe if you just do power on state, if you put the hashtag power on state, and if you want to save that link in your, favorites, because you can never remember what power on state, what all the numbers are, and I can never remember the numbers on all this stuff, especially this, even though I use the switch modes a lot, the switch mode, it's great. I just want to save a link, my toolbar for switch mode. And he's done a great job at linking all these. And he even looks like he even put that little anchor right here, which will jump to the buttons and switches. So he's done a great job on updating the wiki. So with that said, there's also, I know everybody's done all the various Tuya Convert plugs and switches and everything. There's a really cool feature that's not in, yeah, definitely make the wiki great again. It's definitely gotten a lot better. So hats off to Blackadder about that. On the user templates, I know everybody's been going through and asking, well, hey, how do I, and I did show a live stream on how to figure out all the different pins, whether, relay is on this pin or that pin. And so if you want to share you spent 15, 20 minutes. I know there's the other part I've seen people struggle with, and it does take some time, is in the newer development versions. It's not in the standard release, but you can get the newer development versions of the precompiled bin files for Tasmota, and allows you to pick all the pins for power monitoring. And I know a lot of these different plugs have power monitoring, but you got to figure out the pins and you got to calibrate it. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And I've seen people on Discord sharing their configs. So, but no one else really knows to go look in, the Discord channel to go find that configuration. So another thing, I'll mention them again, is Blackadder's been, if you look at there's a new device page, and I'll send out the links to all these. The new device page, excuse me. It's trying to come up with a standardization of an easy way for you to share your work that you did on a device. And he's made a real easy page with a little example layout and everything on how to add a new device into the Tasmota Wiki. And I've seen a couple other, like I've had some people comment like, hey, they're trying to make some forums with links and all the different devices. But I would, to be honest with you, that I would keep the configuration in the Tasmota Wiki. There's no really reason that we should lock away that information on some website away from Tasmota. I mean, that's what we're using it for, is Tasmota, so why not put it on the Tasmota Wiki for everyone to enjoy and everybody can collaborate on? And because not everybody's perfect. You may be typing something out and it doesn't sound exactly correct to someone else, and they may fix the wording on one of your device pages, or they may find something a little different with an LED or something and they want to change it. So it's really cool collaboration and not one person really controls it, which is kind of the whole thing of GitHub, right? But the cool part is on the user-created templates. Yeah, definitely. Time is money. And it's really cool that if you've got a plug, and it takes, once you've done one of the Tuya converts, it may only take Tuya Convert a couple minutes per plug, but then you may spend an hour trying to figure out power monitoring or whatever. And it's really cool to jump in here and find someone has already done that work for you. And then the really cool part is the templates. Now this is only at the point right now in the newer the development versions, but you can paste in these templates and don't have to go pick all the drop downs and everything for each plug. And there's a few people I've been seeing working on the revisions to these, but it's a pretty cool thing. And they're linking the those resize the pictures, and you can edit and add your stuff to these as well. And I'm going to send the link. This is the user created templates. You can add your stuff in here as well, which I would recommend. You know, put link, and no matter what part of the world you're in or where you bought it at, be sure to add it in there. And just, I would be mindful of, because as we know, we've dug around, and you may have a certain smart plug that is, you know, it's manufactured by one person overseas, but then 10 different people buy it and put their names on it. And we don't want 10 entries of the same exact plug. So that's not going to help out anybody. So that's what's great about the pictures. And I love having the pictures on there. It's like, you know, it's the universal language. You don't have to, you can just scroll, oh, look, that's my plug, you know, and you're like, oh, well, they called that you know, that was a Zuzi, or that was, you know, some other KU something brand, you know, but they're just rebranded. So they're the cool part on that. Yeah, basic pilot. I'm going to jump right quick to that. I do get that question quite a bit on how do we update to the development version of Tasmota. So of course we all know the straight link going, and if you just Google for Tasmota on GitHub or search, you know, this is the main Tasmota, you know, landing spot. This is for the wiki. But if you look in the code, I sent the wiki. So you look in the code, and this is a pretty cool part if you're really interested in the Tasmota project. Read the commits. The commits are pretty cool. It kind of gives you can keep your finger on the pulse of Tasmota, and you can see what Theo does, and he works on this thing all the time. It just amazes me on what they do. And there's other developers as well. As you can see in here, there's Jason, NetPoc, etc. They're all doing their pull request, and it's pretty cool. And you can see all their different stuff they're adding into it. So they do, if you go back at the code, and I know you probably don't read all this, but scroll down, and this section right here there's the development code base. And every so often, and he may be in here and correct me on this, but I think it was like, yeah, check, look, there it is. Check every hourly. I'm just telling you to read it, and I'm not reading it, right? So every hour they build the new bin files for you and put them up on the web. And the cool part is you don't have to download them and then send them to your switches. You can actually copy and paste the URL straight from the hackbox.org straight into Tasmota and just hit update. But of course, as we all know with flashing, you know, every time you do kind of have that risk of a bad flash. So just be mindful of that, you know, when you're flashing things. So like I like to test some of these development builds. I'll test them on a little NodeMCU or a Wemos D Mini, something like that. Hey, Stuart, the 220 dryer project, remind me before I get off the stream, and I'll give you a little sneak peek of that. So someone else has been helping in an inspiration to that. So I was supposed to be getting some footage off of electric dryer this weekend, but I wasn't going to go to that house because 2 people came down with the flu in El Paso. So, but we got a plan B for that. So, yes, so what you'll do to go back into about flashing, if you go to the hackbox.org. And I know a couple people have said, hey, Core 2.0, you know, I'm having issues with MQTT disconnects, or it's dropping Wi-Fi. I want to go back to 6.3.1 or something like that. don't do that. There's nothing really wrong with the current build of Tasmota. It's a lot of times it's incompatible with the core, and a lot of people ask, well, what's the core? And that's the version of Tasmota. Well, not really. And kind of the easy way to explain it, just to kind of dumb it down, is think of the core as kind of like the Windows version, like Windows 7, Windows 10, etc. And then Tasmota is like an app that rides on top. So the version of Tasmota is fine, but maybe the core, which is, the kind of like the operating system of the ESP chip itself, is I recommend to people, and I say it like a broken record, and they're like, oh, MQTT disconnects. I'm getting, the last will and testament all the time. I'm getting a bunch of unavailables and Home Assistant. Come in here and go to the hackbox.org Tasmota, this section here where it says under development. And if you'll notice in the top, it says if you're looking for the core 2.50 core binaries, click on this link. Go in here and you can send over the link, the bin that you want. Now, to add to that, because of the size of the bin file, you may not have enough room, and you may have to do that two-step dance. That you'll have to flash over. You have to send over the Sonoff minimal bin file first, and then wait for it to reboot, and then you can send over, say, Sonoff.bin or Sonoff Classic, Basic, etc., whichever one you like to use. So, you have a new version. No, yeah, I did put a different bin file on that little fork for that Martin Jerry dimmer. And really the only major difference in there was I made, because of the Tuya Convert stuff, I made Wi-Fi Manager the default. So if you switch over to one of the dimmers, which I've got 4 dimmers here I got to do for a project later after the video, after this live stream, if you're doing the Tuya Convert and you mess up on that password, or you got special characters in that password that don't jive with Tasmota or even the Arduino core, you'll end up getting that device stuck where it won't hook up to Wi-Fi, and it'll just continue to try. And I usually recommend to people to also put a second Wi-Fi address in there without a password, and that way that you could just remember that SSID, and then you could go make a Wi-Fi with no password, and it would connect up, and you wouldn't have to open that device, which could be bad for some plugs because the plug, maybe you had to destroy it to open it. So all I did is I made Wi-Fi Manager default in there, which if you mess up on anything or the Wi-Fi won't connect, it immediately flips into access point mode for 180 seconds and allows you to hook up with your phone and browse to that 192.168.4.1 and put in a new Wi-Fi SSID and password. That's the only difference. So yeah, so people that are having MQTT disconnects issues, I would try the core 2.5 binaries first. You may have to send over the minimal first, and then you can send over the 1. If you're really having an issue after that, you can try going back to the core 2.3.0 binaries, and you'll still have the same version of Tasmota. If you check the Wi-Fi signal, okay, yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, see, and that's kind of the common thing is people are like, well, no, I'm going to stay with 6.3. Well, it's probably a core issue, and I had that exact thing. Yeah, Fazati, I've heard someone else talking about that with the, on some of those Wemos, they're not true Wemos D1s, and they may be knockoffs, and they have some issues. Sometimes they have some issues with the voltage regulators. So back to the user templates, and I have a NodeMCU right in here right quick. So the NodeMCU I thought was a good idea because it's got 2 onboard LEDs. I don't have any buttons attached to it, but it's got the 2 onboard LEDs, and we'll be able to to put it in there and mess with the configuration. So this is one of the later, I flashed this last night, and if you go into configuration, you'll notice there's a button that says configure template. And this is pretty cool. So what you can do is you can go, we'll call this, say we're going to call it Digi Node, and you see I messed with this once last night. We'll call it Digi NodeMCU. And of course you'd want to call it whatever it was, like the, you know, the Zuzi plug or Tuya plug or whatever. No, Jay, I don't think it's an issue with MQTT. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I just don't think it's dealing with that because I've tried different brokers and everything. So, well, you want to do that one? We'll do that one for Zadi. Look, we'll spell it right. We'll spell it your mom. How about that? Okay, your mom MCU. So the GPIO pins, there's the GPIO 16 has an LED, and we'll call it relay 1, and I think it's, I forgot, D4 is GPIO 2, and we'll do relay 2, and this ADC 0, that's going to be the analog input. And you do have to have if you want to use the A0 pin, which of course isn't on like some of the switches and stuff, but it's on the Wemos and the NodeMCU. That's your analog input if you're you know, using some type of, you're trying to read some voltage signal. It's a 0 to 3.3 volts on most of the breakout boards. You have to flash Sonoff sensors, and that'll allow you to use the ADC input. We're not going to allow that on here. I don't have Sonoff sensors flashed to here because otherwise it reads the voltage from the ESP itself. And we'll hit save and give it a second to reboot. Now you'll notice, you're like, well, we didn't change, where's the relays, or, well, we didn't do that yet. So, because we still just configured the template. And in the template, if you notice, you go to configure module, there's no GPIO pins configured. But now the cool part is you go up here, and here we are, template 0 at the very top, and there's your mom MCU. And don't change the pins, just like you would do a regular built-in one, and hit save. And now if you can see in the video on the top right, it may be hard to see. Let me turn this light off. You can see the two onboard LEDs. And of course, I messed it up. They're actually inverted LEDs. So let's do that. We'll go configure template, and we'll change these to relay 2I and relay 1I, and we'll save it. And yeah, I didn't use a light switch. Actually, I pushed the button on my power strip. I guess I could have reached up and hit the actual switch, or I could have dug around and found how to use it. I normally use voice control, but I didn't want to set off everybody's Google speakers. I'm trying to be nice. So of course it's still, here's the, now we have it correct. Copy and create more devices for the pins like that. Can you show us how to make more switches and buttons? It only uses 8. There's the 8 buttons. I mean, sorry, 8 switches. There's 4 buttons and 8 switches, which you should be able to do. Of course, as switches, you can use them as buttons. Just change the switch mode. So that for the typical ESP, that's going to blow out all the pins unless you had, you know, say the MCP 23017. Yeah, there's the MCP GPIO extender. And then you'd probably get into doing some rules with that. Like I've done. I do have one on my iFan. So I think if you come into the console and type in template, and the cool part is on the template is you can, and once you've configured the template on, now I'll show you how to do that in a second, Bobby. I wish I had a button configured here to show you. But now once you've set up your template exactly how on that new device, you just type in template. And this is your copy and paste, the JSON, and it has the name. And you'll notice in the GPIO pins, if we go in here and compare on the user, let me see if I can find it. User templates. Or using templates. I had this link here. Using templates. Here it is. On using the templates, and you can see they talk about this, and I believe Blackadder was talking about that Theo changed, after he'd made this, Theo changed up some of the screens on him. So if it's not exact on here, give him a break. He hasn't caught up with doing the pictures yet. So, but he's got really cool documentation on how to create your own template, which is some of the stuff I just went through. And he's actually showing how to do it on a power monitoring socket. So this is what we're talking about here. If you open up the console and just issue the template, it's going to output this string here. And he's just saying exactly what I just said. Copy and paste the string here and paste it into your device. And now if you just quite the opposite, you're like, hey, I've got this plug right here, you know, that you say we've got this power socket, and you're like, well, I've got that exact one. Maybe it's called a little different brand, but I want to go. I'm just going to take that and configure it. Well, if you come in here, you copy and paste straight from here, and go to your device, and we'll go to configuration, configure template. Isn't there a template, or is it configure? Other. Here it is, configure other. And then you paste it in there and hit save. There you go, Will. Hey, you see, I never perfect or anything, and I've only did this once. But there it is. Boom. It's already... It's got the name for you at the top showing the module. Now this is a name that I threw in it, just a friendly name. And it's not going to show the pins that are configured. That's going to be all in the template. And because that's it, once you configure those pins, they do go away. And so it's a pretty cool feature. And you're not having to go pick all those little drop downs and everything. So you can really see how the huge power of being able to, once people start sharing all the different plugs and switches and lights and everything, it'll be all right there for you, and you just copy and paste it in there, which is, like I mentioned before, it's huge on the power monitoring. And I would show how to do a power monitoring one, but well, let's just see what happens, right? It may flip out because it didn't have those pins, but if we boot loop it, we boot loop it, right? No, it's not going to copy any of the rules. It's not going to copy like the power retain settings. That's all going to be in the default, configuration of what Tasmoto has. And that would be, I can see that would be too much to really kind of put in a template, because not everybody uses the same configuration, and quite honestly, not everybody is even using these with Home Assistant. They may be using just Node-RED, or they may be using OpenHAB, etc. So they may have a little different thing for, you know, what they want, and so it's pretty cool. So I definitely implore everybody, and be mindful, don't make a mess of it. Go grab some photos of your plugs that maybe you spent time figuring out, and you know, be careful flashing, of course. You know, try it on something first, and then figure out how all the pins, and pull your template and come put you can see it's not that hard to throw it in here, and just follow along like others have done, and we'll add them to the list, and we'll get a big list of stuff going. And of course, he's got it split out in different sections, which is like, there's no switches and dimmer. So maybe, I think that's really a hint to me to probably add several dimmers and switches in there. But he's got the lights controller. And I know a couple of people have asked about doing the mercury bulbs. And in the United States, these mercury bulbs are sold in Walmart. A lot of times you may find them on sale. And there's recent development version of Home Assistant, not Home Assistant, get too many things on the brain here. On Tasmota, they have the LED driver for these, and it works great. I have one, and you can just paste in that template once you flash it to the bulb. So, oh, let's see. I think I clicked the wrong link on Bobby's comment there. It should be showing now. Yep. So, you know, Tuya OTA Flash for Mac. Really, you should be able to use it on anything, because actually, if you follow my video that I posted on how to flash them over the air, that's actually running on the Pi. And I think what you're talking about, making it run actually instead of on the Pi. I'm not too much of a Mac person to know if it allows some of the modes they're changing the Wi-Fi driver, if it'll work straight on the Mac. But I mean, it works, and what's your time worth? If you can get a Raspberry Pi, or I know some people didn't have one, they were borrowing their HASS.io Pis, which just shut down the HASS.io temporarily. You may piss off a few people in the house, maybe do it late at night. Shut it down properly and swap the SD card, and you can use Tuya Convert. Once you build it that first time, it only takes, you know, say a few minutes to plug. And then once you're done with it, then just do a proper sudo shutdown of the Tuya Convert SD card and swap it back to HASS.io and boot it back up. Yeah, Scott, they're with that Tasmota dimmer. I've got to talk to a couple folks about that when they get some different ideas. Because initially I was trying to do that with the rules, and I did it with the rules, but I just wasn't happy with some of the response time with the LEDs. And then there was two scenarios that me and another guy that were testing it ran into, with the on-off states not showing up to Home Assistant correctly. So I did make a couple little changes in things in the firmware along with that template in the firmware itself. Using compiling list. And see, I mean, I'm all about sharing stuff. So yeah, if y'all want to, you know, I'm seeing talking about they're compiling a list of Tuya-based devices. If you're going to share them on any other site, definitely do share them on the Tasmota site as well, because I mean, that's what we're using them on, is Tasmota. So put them in here in Tasmota, and you know, of course, you can share them with whatever other sites you may, you know, feel that's appropriate, or Discord, Facebook, etc. But definitely get it into Tasmota, because that's, you know, where it should ultimately live. Yeah, the new Wi-Fi config 7. I haven't looked into that yet, Andre. I know we just talked about that this morning. Yeah, but Doc, it may work out doing the Tuya Convert VM. I'm not totally familiar with Proxmox on how you passing in your Wi-Fi drivers and stuff, and so if you live near a micro center, the Pi W0 works with Tuya Convert. Huh? Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so I've heard of a couple other people using the Pi 0W. So. Tuya Convert needs both wired and Wi-Fi. Yeah, I think one of the newer Pi W0 they didn't have Ethernet or something. I don't have one, so I'm not sure. I just used the Pi I had because you can't use the Wi-Fi for the connection to the device. I guess if you used another Wi-Fi plugged in USB, it'd be fine. Okay. What was the other model? There's like, weren't there two models of Pi W0? It just didn't come with Wi-Fi or something, didn't it? I wonder if they're using another USB device to bring in another Wi-Fi or another Ethernet. To start, needs to pull down code and use the Wi-Fi to flash device. But you will need, yep, exactly, Andre. So I wanted to show another cool thing that I know a lot of you, I'll post the, if we look at, let's see, we're on GitHub, JDM, I think, no, TDM, sorry. And it's not going to be github.com TDM. The Tasmota Device Manager. I don't know. I mentioned this before to a couple people. It's a cool little configuration tool which has been evolving at a very fast rate, which is I'm hesitant to cover it in a video because I'm sure which is here now, will change it. Just to mess with me, right? But the cool part is, I know everybody's seen Tasmo Admin, which is a web-based configuration, and it does have some issues for some folks where due to the way it polls some of the device, you'll just constantly see all the status messages, and it uses HTTP. Some people were having issues, including myself, especially on my Sonoff S31s. It was rebooting them all the time, anytime I had Tasmo Admin running. So I switched to using just a simple card that had my firmware versions. But it does kind of a pain anytime I was changing stuff and adding stuff. It's pretty cool, and I'll show it here. But to install it, it runs on Python. And if you just he gave great instructions on how to do the pip install and then pip install MQTT. But the cool part about it is once you go, and I'll show it here live in action in a minute here, is once you go into, and this will cause some other status information still on some of your devices, but it's not going to beat on them as bad. I know I've talked to Vazati about that several times, and I think he's trying to be mindful of that, which is good. So I'll show it here in action here. He just fixed an issue that I had due to the crazy timers I was doing. So all you do is you have to go into the broker section and put your IP address to your broker, username and password, and that's it. You don't have to go in there and put it on your devices or scan for IPs or anything like that. So, but what's cool about it, and I'll say this is just huge, is if you go into the device and if you right click, and I don't know everything about this console, I just started playing with this new version. If you right click on a device and do configure, it's going to pull that device. Oh, look, it crashed on me now. Index. We'll get Fazai to fix that, right? I have had it running for almost an hour now, so that could be the issue. But it is beta software, and I do recommend, y'all go play with it and go to his GitHub, and if y'all have an issue with it, definitely go in here and open an issue, and just be mindful. I think it's just him working on it right now. So be mindful of that and just give all the information, the logs, etc., exactly what you did, and drop it in there. And because he may not know about it, and he doesn't have every single device, and and there's so many different combinations, with Tasmota, and he may haven't run into that yet. So definitely drop him an issue if you run into something like that. I did pull the most recent commit, and I went and tried the rules, no problem. So, and I do have about 35 devices on my my network. It does take a little bit to pull up, which is normal because it does have to pull all the information and everything from the switches, but just give it time. So let me pull this back over here once it loads again. Yeah, while we're doing that, I'll show you. Here's the link to TDM. If I can drag it over here. I think it's still polling some of my stuff, so. Let's see. So I pulled up this one earlier. I know this one was fine. I know he had an issue with the rules that's there. So at one point, like I went in and pulled up my iFan02. Yeah, so you're not going to really have an ASIO add-on. This is going to run actually on your computer. And it is, Fazati may be able to speak more on it, but it's Python, so it should run on other things other than just Windows, right? Since it's written in Python. So once you go in, you can see all the information from the device, and including like the free, we talked about earlier, free program space when you're flashing things. Thanks for that. Yeah, so this will work on its platform, what's the word? I can't think of it. Lost my mind here. Neutral, I guess you'll say. And the module and the firmware, and you can come in here and actually change the pins up. If you want to change the module type, you can change the GPIO pins. And see on this one, I have the MCP independent. There you go, Andre. MCP 23017 expander using I²C. And if you go into rules and timers, let's see if it's going to work. Yes. Okay. The cool part about this, and I even talked about this before to several people, when you're writing those rules out, and I've got a little bit of ADD in there, maybe not too much of the shiny object squirrel syndrome as much as some others that I won't name. Some of the rules, it just wraps, and sometimes it's hard to see in that one column in your console. The cool part is he's actually laid it out where it tabs it out in separate lines for you. And this is all one rule, buffer per se. I know that gets confusing to people because you got 3 rule buffers. And so this was in here that I actually have when I push different buttons on my panel that I have on my iFan02. There's a PIR sensor, and then when I push the button, it does a power for the light. But you can see it's cool. It's all broken out. You can change this. It even shows you have 330 characters left. And you can actually, when you can watch the timers, I don't have one set up right now, but when you go in and hit auto telemetry at the top, from what he was told me before, it'll poll the timers and the variables. You can actually watch your rules go through, and it'll pull the variables on them. It's just kind of cool. It helps you debug trying to do some of those really advanced rules. But to change the rule buffer, you just hit rule 2, and you can see I have another one here that'll actually toggle this button, or it sends a MQTT toggle command out to another device. Yeah, Matt, that's TDM. And I scroll back up and you'll see the link to TDM along with the stuff to install it. And it's a local application. It's going to run on your Windows, Mac, Linux, PC, whatever, because it just uses Python. So it's not going to be a web-based something you stick in a HASS.io or whatnot. This is just going to be a quick little it's a tool to see. And you also see you've got several things on the right. You can see one of my ESP devices here, and you can see the power, apparent power, the voltage, current, etc. So very, very powerful device program. I haven't gone through all of it yet. I saw he did add my feature of the BSS ID, which is I use 2 access points. And, oh, I'm sorry. Let me turn that off. We don't need that NodeMCU thing, right? There we go. Yeah, so if you look, I was looking up here before I had it covered by the stupid NodeMCU camera we didn't need, right? So if you look, it has all the ESP S31 showing all the power stats. There's just all kinds of things that he put in the little drop box on the right. There's several different options in here. You can go and open the web UI. You can restart devices. You can power them on and off. You can clear the retained messages. I mean, it's just everything in one spot. Launch the GUI. To launch the GUI, let's see. Well, if I double click, it pulls up. Let's see. I wonder if it's something. It gets that list. It's getting a list index out of range. I'll hit up Fazati on that one later because I can reproduce this one. But to open the web GUI, you just go in there and hit click the device, or click the device and then hit open web GUI, and it opens or web UI. I'm sorry, he has it labeled. And you just go in and it'll open your web browser and bring you straight to the web UI, which is pretty cool. Let me bring my chat back up here. Yeah, well, but if you look, I know I'm bad with it too. Scroll down, and I've had 2 or 3 people ask me this, is make sure you do this at the command prompt. Don't go into Python and try to do it as a Python command. I'm sure there's probably a way to do that as a Python command. But do this just copy and paste this into your command prompt, and it should install. See, I've already done it. If I come in here and copy and paste, I've already done it, so it's already going to tell me it's already installed. So, but you should get a message that, hey, it's pulling all the libraries, and you'll see it downloading with the little status bars going back and forth. And you'll need to do that for both of these, the MQTT requirement as well. And then once you do that, extract right here on the top right, he's got the download button, and you'll download the zip file. And I forgot where I saved mine. There's a Python file. If you just run the main Python file that's in the zip folder, the TDM-py right here. Once you unzip it and run TDM-py, and then it should open right up and go. Like I say, click on the broker thing at the top right. Pull this back over here so we can see. Click on the broker up here. I don't want to click it just in case it shows my password. But it just has your IP and your user ID and the password. So, yeah. So like I say, it is safe to say probably alpha or beta of some sort. Fazati's done it. I've been playing with it for a couple week or so now, and when he gave it to look at and posted it on GitHub. It's a pretty cool project, and he's been evolving it at a very, very fast rate. And I'm sure if anyone else has any other ideas or knows Python really well, maybe they can help out. I mean, that's the whole thing with GitHub. You know, you can do a pull request of some sort, and maybe you can add some other feature that Fazati maybe approve of. So, Dale, you could run it in Docker, but that's not really what it's for. It's to run just locally on your computer. Yeah, there's no need. That'd be, you know, kind of going around the world to go next door type thing. So I didn't really have anything else. Oh, was it Scott? Stewart, I think it was one to ask about the dryer project, right? I don't know if he's still here. So let me pull this out the way here. I don't have it showing. I'm trying to, give me 1 second. I got to sit on the floor. All right, Stuart, just for you, right? Give me a second. Let me turn this light back on. I won't use Google to do that. Being nice to you guys. Down. Okay. Make sure we have a decent focus on it. So I know it looks kind of rough right now. I just did it on a breadboard. And I'm going to show, I've drawn it out, and I'm going to do a board for a little proto board that should be easy there will be some soldering involved. Yes, there's other products you could probably go spend $100, $200 on that don't require any soldering, and that's perfectly fine. But if you want to do it as DIY, like most of us want to do it, and you want that cool thing of doing it yourself, if I can find, we don't have anything hot over here, so we're good. What we're using is that split core terminal. I guess we'll start over here, Will. That's gonna be a good idea, right? Now everybody knows. So if you roll back to some other videos after this finishes, there's a Sonoff S31 that has, if you have the Sonoff S31s, those are the US style plugs that they're really great plugs, still my favorite. Even though you can't do them OTA, they're super easy to flash. And the best thing about them is they have screws, and you can take them apart and put them back together without gluing or anything. So I have a gas dryer in a regular washing machine. Now, of course, the regular washing machine is super simple with the S31. Plug it in, rock and roll. Not everybody has a gas dryer, understand that. A lot of people speaking US, they use that split phased, which becomes 220 at a higher amperage. That they do have some other options out there. They're usually like Z-Wave, but they're super expensive to monitor your, a 220 plug or cut it off. Now, we're not really interested in turning off whoever unplugs their dryer, right? You definitely don't want to unplug your dryer, because then the wife comes in and the dryer don't work, and then you get the phone call and the whole 9 yards, right? So what I wanted to do was a cheap and safe solution of doing I'm not necessarily trying to see the exact, hey, did this cost me $2.08 today? Which is great. You can see that, and we can get there pretty close with some calibration. But we're really trying to determine, hey, is the dryer running or did the dryer just stop? Because, hey, the dryer just stopped. Well, I can tell you this. My daughter's probably, she's got all my work clothes and my work shirts and everything. They're all in the dryer, my pants and the whole 9 yards. And she's so hung up in Netflix watching something, they're just going to sit in the dryer for 30, 45 minutes and wrinkle again. And then she's going to have to run the dryer again. And the whole rabbit hole, wash, rinse, repeat. So the cool part is, and it's still one of my favorite automations, is I have some very random sarcastic messages that are very positive, uplifting to her, and sends out notifications on all our Google Home speakers that sends, hey, the dryer is done. And has some other ones in there which are, I'm telling her how great of a job she's doing, etc. But she doesn't like that for some reason. But with the 220 split phase dryers, and also this will cover the people in other countries, etc. I wanted a non-invasive. Yeah, exactly, Matt. Positive and uplifting, but she turns it into something negative. I threw in a couple dad jokes as well, right? Like I'm telling her I'm sure she's having loads of fun doing the laundry. Yeah, great, little dad jokes, right? So what we have here, yeah, and actually, Paul, that's what I use for my whole house power monitoring, is that ATM90 E32. I've talked about it. Amazing chip. I know here's a squirrel thing again. It truly amazed me when I could put a 100-amp clamp on a wire with a 7-watt light bulb, and that chip could detect it and hold it steady using a 7-watt light bulb and a 100-amp clamp. That's crazy scale there, and it's super accurate. So that board's out in my shop on the breaker panel, but I do want to eventually show that to some of you guys. So with here, I wanted a non-invasive. Yeah, and you're fine. Yeah, Stuart. What I'm going to show, typically on a dryer. Now, I don't know every dryer and everything. Trust me, I haven't seen dryers overseas and everything. But typically in the U.S., they make the dryers available. There's a inspection plate, because some people have a three plug dryer plug, and some of them have a four pin dryer plug. And I haven't bought electric dryer in a while, but a lot of them won't come with the actual cord because different people had different plugs. And that's how it was years ago. And you can open up that panel, and because the split core, you can't just put it around. Now, and none of this is on or plugged in, by the way. So I can touch this all day long. These split core is that you open these up and you can see you can clamp them right around. Now this one is a 30 amp 1 volt, and it's a 30 amp 1 volt split core transformer. And if I think I said that right, I think it's transformer, but I always call them SCTs. Some people call them donuts. So it's a 30 amp, and they do have, you can get these all over the place, whether you want to get them off of AliExpress or Banggood or Amazon, etc. Yeah, the current transformer, there you go. They're split core current transformers. I'll just stick to SCT, right? But if what you want to do is you're going to put around one leg, and I will be covering this pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. And you'll put it around one leg of the dryer plug, and on the inside of the dryer, and there's a fairly decent wire length on these things. That's probably 2.5 feet. Y'all have to do the conversion to centimeters or meters or whatnot. But then you can do this. I'm using a NodeMCU. You could use a Wemos D1 Mini, etc. And you'll use 2 resistors, a small capacitor, and then, now, of course, I'm on the breadboard. I'm using a few jumpers. And you'll be able to, I've got to do the sketch for it and stuff, and over MQTT, you'll actually see it may take a little bit of, depending on your setup, changing one value to do depending on the clamp you use, because you can use several different size clamps that they have. And you'll do the calibration on it, and you'll be able to get pretty close. And I was messing with and had a Sonoff S31 that was calibrated, and I was using a heat gun that was pulling about 11 amps. And I was able to get this thing to show the 9 amps, 8, and then I put it in. The reason why I chose that heat gun, because it had the low option as well, and I was able to see it saying 4 amps, etc. And so, but the big key is you'll be able to see the dryer running or not, and you can do your notifications, and we'll send it all through MQTT, and you can bring that sensor straight into Home Assistant, Node Red, whatever you want to use for reading that value. So on the NodeMCU or the Wemos, it's going to be a little custom sketch. You will not be able to use Tasmota or ESP Easy, etc. that I know of on ESP Easy and some of the others. They just don't read that A0 pin quick enough to read the AC voltage and pull out the amperage that's being pulled over. So, but it does work. I'm going to do it. I'm going to build a little proto board that's very easy to solder. Nothing's really close. So if you're not really good at soldering, then you shouldn't have any problems with it, because it's not going to be like small components, etc. And you'll use a few jumper wires, and yes, using the emonlib library. There you go. And it works pretty good. If you've seen there. Actually, there's tons. This isn't the first time doing one of these. If you can go Google around looking for, using a clamp on, I think there was How It Works, I believe, if I'm saying it right, his YouTube channel. He built one a good while back. So, same kind of concept, except we're just going to use it on the dryer. Now, there's some other solutions out there that you could do. The what's the IoT Watt one that you could do, and that one has multiple channels, and of course you could drive everything off of that. So, but of course the cost is much higher. And I wanted to do something that was fairly cheap, allow somebody to kind of a rewarding project and do it yourself, and we'll put it in some type of little soapbox type, something. You can probably put it in something like this, if you really want to, then yeah. So Stuart, yeah, you can use the 200 amp. It's all down to the size clamp. You'll just need, if you're having, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's 200 amps on each leg, I believe. It's not a combined on each phase. If you have to look around because if you do get up to 200 amp, you won't want to blow out the spec on that. Say if you put 100 amp on there, you can get the 200 amp clamps and put those around. I know some people had some larger wires and they had to find some bigger clamps. And I know I've shown this before. It's circuitsetup.us, I believe. In his split phase whole house energy meter 1.2. And he actually also, I think, sells them on phase. Let's see. So he does also sell them actually on Amazon as well. So those are pretty cool. And it doesn't, like I say, it now doesn't come with a case. And you will need a like NodeMCU or Wemos or something like that, and it allows you to. He actually shows the exact. Let's see, we can go back. Yeah, I think he had it going to Grafana, or that's the Emon. I actually have mine going to Grafana and showing the. Because I use a little custom sketch with that device, and I show it going into MQTT. I've shown it before. Let me see. Let's go to Dev. I've shown it before here, and this is this card. Let me make sure I can see that on the web. Yep, there it is. So on the DigiEnergy one, it shows how many watts I'm pulling, and I don't have it broken out right now on my development version of Home Assistant. I guess it's the top. Yeah, it's the top. I can say my GUI's a mess in Dev since the Lovelace thing. I hadn't messed with it, but you can see that's both phases of each leg. And, of course, you get your states and everything if you want on there, the total watts, etc. So, but that's for a whole home. And this will be, if you add one in, you could do the option of showing it on, I lost my thought there. With blank. Oh, you can do the option. Damn, that totally went bad. Oh no, putting it in the panel. If you don't want to put it on the actual dryer, and the reason why I say I put it on the dryer itself is because that allows, it's much safer for people to, you just unplug the dryer and then you can mess with it, put the clamp on it, etc., without having to worry of getting shocked. If you're putting stuff in the panel, absolutely be careful. If not, you can kill yourself putting stuff in the panel if you don't know what you're doing. Because the only way to kill the power, typically in the panel, unless you've got some sort of outside disconnect, is the only way to really kill the power is to pull the meter off the side of the house. So, yeah, I am using that board from that link. And it does have that ATM chip we talked about. Yeah, exactly, vCloud. And don't think that you can I just might touch it for a split second. Don't do that. If you want to put something in your panel and you're not familiar with it, don't. And it's one of them rules. If in doubt, just leave it out, dude. Call an electrician. I'm sure, you have to pay a little more, but what's your life worth? And I don't think the doc can come save you. Because you'll be dead in a heartbeat. You get lit up. So I'm sure an electrician would be more than happy to come put 2 clamps in your panel for you. And, it may cost a little bit to put them in there, but hell, that's easy work for them. He doesn't have to wire nothing. So yeah, using that board, like you can see in one of his pictures here, he's using that. This is kind of what I have in my panels in my shop area, and you just connect your 2 split SCTs to it, and then you connect NodeMCU of some sort. And I plan on doing a little different with actually hooking up a little smoke sensor for in that shop area. I do have haven't had any issues in the past, but it's something I want to add to it. And I also want to put some contacts on my door lock so I can know if that door is locked or not by just looking at it. So, yes, non-contact voltage testers. Yep. I didn't have one for a while. I even mentioned it in that Moe's 3-way video. If you're messing with and the reason why I say this, never trust the electrician that was there before you. Because you think you cut off, oh, look, hey, I cut this off and it cuts these lights off. And hey, I did cut the breaker off. I have one in my house where the 2 3-ways meet and come back out, they're on two separate circuits. So you'll cut the circuit off and turn off that fan in that room, but half of the other box is still alive from another circuit. So don't trust anything. One of those non-contact things are great. I've done in one house that I was actually, it's not smart related. We were putting new garage lights in because getting rid of the old little single fluorescent ballasts, and we're putting separate lights around the garage. And I just didn't feel right about some of the wiring in there. So when I was wiring up to the switch, I actually went in and cut the whole house off. I just said, hey, to hell with it. And we turned the whole main breaker off, turned everything off. I wouldn't have to worry about it. So that's, if you don't feel right about it, just better be safe than sorry. Yeah, that's very true, vCloud. If you have solar panels, it's a little hard to shut those off. You know, you've got to go cut off some other stuff, and I don't have any of those, but it definitely complicates things for folks. So be careful out there. Yeah, Will, that's that whole home monitor. It's got a little DIY to it. I do have a custom sketch for it, and it does work pretty well. I do need to go fix one issue with a timer count on the Wi-Fi that'll automatically reboot the board. It's one of those ESP issues. And you can use an ESP32 or an 8266. I think he's showing using it as an ESP32. I'm using an ESP8266. The sketch to run the dryer NodeMCU, when I do, I will share that exact sketch. And you'll be able to put in your MQTT stuff. I don't have that sketch yet. I just have a simple sketch right now that was just showing the value. So, yeah, exactly. I didn't want to, I just felt that just using the ESP32 was going to be a waste, you know, it's all the GPIO pins and stuff. So, hey, what's up, vCloud? Yeah, I don't know how many people will get the shirt. And I was going to put HA, I know y'all probably laugh, I see it sometimes. When you put HASS, I didn't want other people to think I was trying to, you know, put ass on my shirt or something or whatever. So, yeah, that was, I went with HA. It's pretty straight, whether we can do home automation or home assistant. So, actually, I made the shirt this morning. Well, I had the wife help me out with it. So, and everything, and kind of had the idea to do it, and she's quicker with it. Yeah, the 8 was the chance, because if you had 8, you see, you're gonna rack my brain here. I remember you had 2 drives. Was it 9.1 or was it 8.2? I don't remember. So I grew up on the C64. So that was my very first computer when I was like probably 7 or 8 years old, and I didn't even have a floppy drive on it at first. We used that. We just had the tape drive, so you had to do the load and then press play on tape thing. Yeah, that's another little idea. Press play on tape. Yeah, I know. I had a friend of mine had a TRS-80 there too. So, okay, look, everybody's going. (1) binary load. So, anyone have the invalid config message stating just flashed after the update? Yes, I believe that's not. They took that out as one of the MQTT breaking changes. So. If you went in there and commented that out in your MQTT config, so, yep. So we've gone an hour or so. Has anybody else got any other subjects they wanted to chit-chat with? I know we kind of covered a good bit and covered all the Tasmota stuff. Let's see. I want to definitely say thanks to Blackadder again for all of his. I mean, I can't. If you've ever edited markup on GitHub, you'll feel his pain. He's done a great job doing all the wikis, so it's great. Yeah, I haven't done any crawfish yet, Paul. I'm not sure where Paul is from, but yeah, haven't done the crawfish yet, so. But I will definitely. Can't miss that every season. So nobody's added any templates since I've been here. So I'll have to go add in one myself. So, any other questions? You can find me on the Dr. Z's Discord. I do have my own little Discord server, but it wasn't. I really just had that linked on some of my pages because some people are asking a lot of comments on videos and trying to go back and forth and trying to help somebody out. I just leave my little Discord to my server. So it's not meant everybody jump over there or nothing like that. It's really just an easy place for people that don't want to, they try to, it's hard sometimes in some of the YouTube comments to go back and forth. You can find me there. There's all kind of ways to contact me. So, do you know if an RGB bulb has a Tuya module? Wait a couple of days, Wellbo, and tons of bulbs have those. I've got something in the pipe right now showing several different bulbs, and do it both with Tasmota and ESP Home. Some of them can't be, which we did talk about, the mercury bulb here. That one will be done with Tasmota. So, and those are pretty easy to pick up if you're in the US, because they're locally, you can get those from Walmart. The mercury bulbs, it's you can find everybody else talking about them. The mercury bulbs, they're not very bright on the colors. So don't go in and expecting, like some of the other big brands to be really bright on some of the colors. And I'm more the white LEDs. It is a RGBW bulb. The white LEDs in it are very bright. So when it says, hey, it's a equivalent to 75-watt bulb, it's pretty bright on the white. But the only downside I can say to it on the white, they're more of a warm white. And if you're more, if I'd say they're like a 3,000 to 3,500K probably. And if you use that in your house, that's great. In some areas, most areas, we've switched to like 4,500K and 5,000K, generally called the daylight bulbs. And so they don't have that bright white on those mercury bulbs that some of this time we like. So let me hit show on this wheel. I believe, Will, those Genie brand bulbs are, someone was telling me that Mercury and the Genie is the same company. And I think the Genie sold at, I want to say the Genie I saw them either sold at Costco or something like that. Or they may have a little different brand. It may be slipping my mind there. I think I've also seen the people getting some of the Genie stuff here in the US at Home Depot. So there you go, William. Genie's the parent company. So, yeah, so Genie and Mercury are one and the same. So you may find some of the same products, but just different names on them, which is the same. They just probably put a different packaging on them, different label. So, but yeah, check out, you can do Tuya Convert on it, no problem. But you will need to go send one of the later development versions that has the driver to, it's like SM, let's see, SM61676 or something like that. And the bulbs, like you say, they're pretty cheap. You can go find, you're looking at, and of course this may be different pricing, of course, based on different stores, but of course here in the US and in my area, they're right now showing $12.88. So do you have a home lab? What do you speaking of home lab? Actually, like just a lab to do things, or is that actually like a brand of some sort? I know there's like Home Kit. And if Home Lab was a type thing, Stuart. How about those Costco Fiat bulbs? I don't know. I haven't tried those. I don't have a subscription to Costco. We got a Costco locally here, but I haven't been in there in a while. So, oh, Home Lab. No, I've actually got one little Dell Xeon server that runs Unraid, and I think I've got 4 hard drives in it, and they're 8 to 10 terabytes a piece. I think I've got like 24 terabytes on, and I have a 500 gig solid state in there, and that's my media server, store and back up a lot of stuff on there. Plus, of course, backing up stuff in the cloud and whatnot. And the big key there is, let's see, let me go look on talking about the energy sucker is which I can show this. This isn't showing anything bad. I wouldn't say bad, but you can see I'm using, with that server, comes from the battery backup on the server, and there's another computer plugged into it with a screen, but it's probably sleeping. So it's using like around 40 to 50 watts. There's one of the screens on that computer is plugged in, and the computer should be sleeping. But that server is running on there, which is where my Home Assistant, 2 copies of Home Assistant run, and probably about 15 or 20 other Docker containers. And you can see it, look, it's dipping down to 38 watts. So, but you can see the loads on it pretty low right now. We're looking at like 11%. So. Yeah, I've only got a 125 amp breaker panel and get nowhere near that because everything is gas. Gas tankless, gas stove, gas range, gas dryer. The only thing that pulls high, which of course is the air conditioner, which of course in Louisiana we run that all the time. So, Alpha Unraid and the Proxmox. I saw the doc doing stuff on Proxmox. I don't have anything to really run Proxmox on to go play with it, and I just run straight Docker containers. I kind of feel that's what I started with, and like I accidentally installed Home Assistant. Going through some of the containers, installed templates, and hell, what's this Home Assistant thing? I was using Smart Things. Clicked on Home Assistant. It pulled down the Docker, and 15, 20 seconds later, boom, I was looking at the web GUI, and I was sold after that. It found all my Rokus, it found all my Google speakers, and I started instantly typing to doing text-to-speech using the Google speakers, and it found several other things in the house, and I was kind of like, this is cool. And so that's where I started with accidentally finding Home Assistant, probably almost a year ago. So, but... All right. Anything else, guys? Yes, it's getting up there, Stuart, in disk usage. I'm about to blow out of that. I can't add another hard drive inside it. So, cool. Y'all, yeah, if the different core things will fix things. Yeah, no more questions, basic pilot. Everybody, you talking for everybody, right? Josh, show Home Assistant Auto Discovery. Probably not the person to do that. I don't use Auto Discovery, and not to discredit any of the work that's been done on Auto Discovery of Tasmoto. I just test too much stuff. I change stuff in and out too much. And I just don't want everything popping up in my Home Assistant. I use the same MQTT broker between production and development. And so if I'm testing something, I want to be able to put it in there. And I don't, if I want it, I have to go put it in there. And some of my stuff is not going to be, it's not exactly, I want every single sensor. So if you look, go in the wiki, Josh, and I'm trying to discredit it. Go in the wiki and look in they have a lot of good information on how to do auto discovery. And if you still can't get that to work, Tasmota has a Discord server. You can go in there and go ask for help in there. Maybe there's possibly some other people that are using auto discovery and can give you a help. And also don't forget Dr. Z's has his Discord server, and they do have a Sonoff Tasmota section to help out with things as well. So lots of resources out there, and there's lots of other people that are just eager to help, which is cool about this community. So, all right, Greg. Well, sorry you stepped in late, but you can always roll back. This should post and everything a little bit later, or you can just, rewind. And I mean, y'all feel free to hit me up if y'all need something. And I have got a project to go do with installing a bunch of lights and a bunch of dimmers, and breaking the rule of installing HASS.io at a family member's house. So I don't run HASS.io normally on a Raspberry Pi, so it's kind of funny. I had installed it on a Raspberry Pi, and it's all kind of new to me. And trying to install the little configurator and MQTT broker, so it's all new to me. So, but hey, to get my knowledge up on it. So, but it'll be perfect for them. Yeah, luckily the basic pilot, if they only live 2 to 3 minutes away, and I do have VPN access to it. So I just hope that, and I did buy the Endurance SD card, so hopefully that'll work out. So I was trying to do them just cloud, but he saw too much stuff at my house with, hey, you can long press this, and you can long press this, and it turns off this light, and then this sensor does this and does that. So yes, they will not be calling me at 3 a.m. unless they want to. We can charge by the hour, right? So yeah, so all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna go ahead finish my weekend out. It is my day off here, and I've got the weekend, but I've got some other projects to help them out with at the house they're building, so, or renovating per se. So Home Assistant as a service. I don't think I would get into doing that. That's just, I don't think I would do that. So yeah, thanks, Basic Pilot. I definitely never thought I'd get up there to the number of subscribers I'm at now. And so it's definitely been a fun little journey so far. And some of it has helped out. I've tried to do the Be Like Doc, he'd be inspiration to me. He was the inspiration. And got my green screen and be able to talk to you guys instead of just looking at the hands or something like that. I try to incorporate that into some of the videos. So, alrighty. Well, y'all take it easy, and we'll sign off and see you, and y'all take care.